the CEO, the mechanic, and a golden key. His daughter's life hung by a thread, and he was ready to sell everything. Then a ruthless millionaire CEO walks in, holding the keys to his future, and a secret that could break them all. But what if a little girl and a tiny golden key held the power to unlock a heart colder than stone? If you believe even the most guarded hearts can be opened, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about unexpected connections and life-changing choices. Ms. Sterling! Sarah dashed down the hallway, her heels clattering against the marble. Your daughter! Isabella looked up from her laptop, her heart racing at the panic on her assistant's face. What happened to Lily? She instantly stood, knocking over her coffee cup. I found her crying in the 12th floor hallway. She said some kids from the accounting firm made fun of her because she doesn't have a dad. Isabella felt a sharp pang in her chest. She'd spent 2 years avoiding this moment, hoping Lily was too young to understand her family's situation. Where is she now? With the night custodian. He comforted her. Isabella frowned. It was past 8 in the evening. Most of the staff had gone home. She barely remembered seeing the night custodian in passing. They took the elevator to the 12th floor, where Isabella expected to find her daughter in tears. Instead, she found a scene that left her speechless. Lily sat on the floor with a man in his late 30s, dressed in a green cleaning uniform. Papers were scattered around them, and both were laughing as they folded paper airplanes. Look, Lilybug, this one's called the Emerald Eagle, the man said with a soft, melodic accent. Back home, they fly so high, they touch the clouds. Really? Lily's eyes sparkled. And have you seen them? Of course, little one. When I was a boy, my grandpa used to take me to the mountains and— Lily, Isabella interrupted, her voice sharper than intended. Both looked up. The man immediately stood, with a natural elegance that contrasted with his work uniform. Ms. Sterling, he said with respect. I'm Marco Ramirez, from the night service. Your daughter was a bit sad, but she's better now. Right, Lily? Lily clutched the paper airplane like a treasure. Mommy, look what Marco taught me. It's an eagle that flies to heaven where Daddy is. Isabella's throat tightened. She'd spent months avoiding talking about Leo with Lily, and this stranger had helped her daughter talk about it so naturally. Thank you, she mumbled, feeling awkward. Lily, gather your things. It's time to go. But Mommy, Marco was going to tell me about the ruby hummingbirds that live in the flowers. Another time, Marco smiled at the child. The hummingbirds will be there when you come back. Isabella watched him help Lily gather her school supplies with paternal care. There was something in his gestures, in the way he spoke to her daughter, that both unsettled and comforted her. How long have you worked here? She asked as they waited for the elevator. 3 months, ma'am. Night shift, 8 to 6 in the morning. And how does my daughter know you? Marco exchanged a look with Lily, as if they shared a secret. Sometimes the little one stays up late while you work. We've bumped into each other a few times. Isabella realized she'd been so absorbed in her meetings and reports that she didn't know how her own daughter spent her evenings. A wave of guilt washed over her. In the elevator, Lily whispered to Marco, Tomorrow, you'll teach me to make the paper hummingbird, if Mommy agrees. Isabella was about to refuse automatically, but something in Lily's hopeful expression stopped her. She hadn't seen her daughter so animated in a long time. We'll see, was all she could manage. The following weeks, Isabella tried to leave the office earlier, but the demands of Sterling Corp were relentless. They were in the middle of a massive expansion into Latin America, and as CEO, she couldn't delegate the most important decisions. One Friday night, reviewing contracts in her office, she realized it was almost 11. Sarah had left, and the building was practically empty. She left her office to find Lily and found her in the waiting area, but not alone. Marco was there, sitting on the floor beside her, surrounded by books. And the little duckling realized he was different from his brothers. Marco read, his voice turning the story into a melody. Lily's eyelids were heavy. She was fighting sleep. "Marco," she murmured, "do you think my daddy can see me from heaven?" Isabella froze behind the glass door. "I'm sure he can, little one. Daddies who go to heaven become stars. Every time you see a bright star, that's your daddy watching over you. And why doesn't he come back? Because his job now is very important. He has to look after all the children in the world from above, but you have something very special." "What?" "His love. That never leaves. It's always here." Marco pointed to Lily's heart. "And here," he touched her forehead, "in every happy memory you have of him." Lily smiled and snuggled against Marco's arm. Isabella felt something crack inside her. This man had done in minutes what she hadn't been able to do in 2 years: help her daughter process her father's death. She watched from the shadows as Marco covered Lily with his work jacket and sat, watching her sleep. He picked up a book from the table and began to read. Isabella squinted to see the title, Advanced Pediatric Cardiology. Her heart skipped a beat. What was a custodian doing reading specialized medical texts? Marco looked up as if he'd felt her presence. Their eyes met through the glass, and for a moment, Isabella felt as if he could see straight through all her defenses, into the most vulnerable corners of her soul. She approached slowly, quietly, so as not to wake Lily. "Do you always look after your boss's daughters?" she asked in a low voice. Marco closed the book and stood carefully. "Only when they're alone and need someone to listen." His words pierced Isabella's heart. She realized her daughter had been alone far more often than she'd allowed herself to admit. "What were you reading?" she asked, pointing to the book. For the first time, she saw a flicker of discomfort in Marco's eyes. "Just something I found. I like to read." Isabella knew he was lying, but something in his expression told her it wasn't a malicious lie. It was the kind of lie people tell when protecting something too painful to share. She lifted Lily into her arms, and the girl murmured, half asleep, "Thank you, Marco. Tomorrow, I want you to tell me about the golden hummingbird." "Rest, princess," he whispered, adjusting a strand of Lily's hair. As they waited for the elevator, Isabella realized something fundamental had shifted that night. For the first time in years, she didn't feel utterly alone in the world, and that terrified her more than any business meeting. What do you think Matteo's secret past truly holds? And why is Isabella so terrified of not feeling alone? Share your predictions in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unexpected twists. Isabella woke up Saturday with the image of Marco reading medicine etched in her mind. While making breakfast, she watched Lily drawing at the kitchen table. "What are you doing, my love?" "It's for Marco." Lily held up the drawing. "It's a golden hummingbird, like the ones he saw in Colombia." Isabella looked closer. For a 6-year-old, Lily had surprisingly captured the details Marco had described. "Marco's told you a lot about Colombia." "Yes. He says there are flowers as big as dinner plates, and it rains every day at 3 in the afternoon. We can go someday, Mommy." "We'll see, Lily." On Monday, Isabella arrived at the office with a decision made. She called Sarah into her office. "I want you to discreetly investigate the night custodian, Marco Ramirez." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Any problem with him?" "No, quite the opposite. Just, I need a report by tomorrow." That afternoon, Isabella found an excuse to stay late. Around 8, she went down to the floor where she usually found Lily. She saw them sitting on the floor of the reception area. Marco had a map of Colombia spread out on the carpet, and Lily pointed to different cities as he told her stories. "Here's Cartagena," Marco was saying, "where the houses are as colorful as rainbows and the sea is so blue it looks like a mirror of the sky." "And what's here?" Lily pointed to a mountainous area. "That's my hometown, Bogota, the city of eternal spring. It's so high in the mountains that when it rains, the clouds touch the buildings." Isabella approached quietly. There was something hypnotic in Marco's voice, in the way he turned geography into fairy tales. "Do you miss your country?" Lily asked, with a child's brutal honesty. Marco was silent for a moment. "Yes, little one, but sometimes you have to leave home to find a new family." "Like me with you?" "Like you with me." Marco smiled and stroked her head. Isabella felt a pang of something she didn't know if it was gratitude or jealousy. This man had filled a void in her daughter's life that she hadn't even known existed. "Good evening," she said, making her presence known. "Mommy!" Lily ran to her. "Marco was teaching me about Colombia. Did you know there's a salt mountain there?" "Really?" Isabella looked at Marco, who was carefully rolling up the map. "The Salt Cathedral of Zipaquira," he explained. "It's a church built inside a salt mine. They say if you go in, you can make any wish." "And what would you wish for?" Lily asked. Marco looked at Isabella for a second before answering. "That all the girls in the world have a mommy who loves them as much as yours loves you." Isabella felt a blush rise. There was something in the way Marco looked at her that made her feel seen. Truly seen for the first time in years. The next day, Sarah handed her the report on Marco. "Colombian citizen, 35 years old. Arrived in the U.S. 8 months ago. Clean criminal record. Excellent work references. Lives alone in a small apartment in a modest neighborhood. Pays his bills on time. No significant debts. Education? That's the strange part, ma'am. The report says he only finished high school, but when I spoke to the cleaning supervisor, he told me Marco knows things he didn't learn in school. He helps other employees with complicated problems. Speaks several languages." "What kind of problems?" "Medical, mainly. When the security guard's daughter got hurt, Marco gave her first aid better than many doctors. But when asked where he learned, he just said he'd read about it." Isabella pondered. Each day, Marco became more mysterious. That night, she decided to stay even later, until only she. Lily and Marco were left in the building. She found her daughter in the small kitchen on the 15th floor, standing on a chair, while Marco taught her to make something that smelled delicious. "What are you cooking?" "Arepas!" Lily shouted excitedly. "Marco says they eat them every day in Colombia. They're very easy to make," Marco smiled. "Just flour, water, and salt. But the secret is in the love you put into it." Isabella watched him guide Lily's small hands to form the arepas. There was infinite patience in his gestures, a tenderness that moved her. "Want to try?" Marco offered her some dough. "I don't know how to cook," Isabella admitted. "We always order food, or Rosa, the house staff, prepares something for us." "It's never too late to learn." Isabella approached, aware that Marco was very close, as he taught her to form the arepa. Their hands brushed briefly, and she felt an electric current she hadn't experienced in years. "Like this," he murmured, slowly, with care. Isabella looked up and met his eyes. For a moment, the world narrowed to those few inches between them, to the way he looked at her as if she were the most fascinating woman in the world. "It's done," Lily broke the spell. "I made my first arepa." They ate, sitting on the kitchen floor, like a family on a picnic. Isabella couldn't remember the last time she had eaten something so simple and so tasty. "In Colombia," Marco said as they cleaned up, There's a saying, full belly, happy heart. And does it work? Isabella asked. Not always. Marco looked at her with a sad smile. Sometimes the heart needs more than food to be happy. That night, as she drove home with Lily asleep in the back seat, Isabella couldn't stop thinking about Marco's words. What did her heart need to be happy? The answer came a week later, when Lily woke up in the middle of the night screaming. Isabella rushed to her room and found her sweating, with tears in her eyes. What happened, my love? I dreamed Daddy was lost and couldn't find us, Lily sobbed. It was very dark, and he was calling our names. Isabella hugged her daughter, feeling her own anguish reflected in the girl's words. She had also had similar nightmares after Leo's death. It was just a dream, Lilybug. Daddy's okay. He's watching over us from heaven. But what if he forgets us? It's been so many days since he left. Isabella felt her heart break. She didn't know what to say, how to explain to a 6-year-old that death doesn't mean forgetting. The next day, she took Lily to the office earlier than usual. She needed to talk to Marco. She found him on the 12th floor, organizing his cleaning cart. When he saw Lily with swollen eyes, he immediately approached. What happened, princess? Lily told him about her nightmare, and Marco knelt to her level. You know what? I had nightmares like that too when I was a kid. Really? Yes. When my grandfather died, I thought he would forget me. But my mom taught me something very important. Marco took Lily's hand and placed it over his own heart. Do you feel that? Yes, your heart. And do you know why it beats? So you don't die? Also, but mainly it beats to remember. Each beat is a memory of all the people we love. Your daddy lives here. He pointed to Lily's heart. And here, he touched her forehead. And here, he placed his hand over Isabella's heart, in your mommy's heart, who loved him so much. Isabella felt tears in her eyes. Marco had achieved in minutes what she had tried for months, giving Lily a way to understand that love doesn't die with death. So he's never going to forget us? Never. It's impossible, because love is stronger than everything, even stronger than the distance between heaven and earth. Lily threw herself into Marco's arms and hugged him tightly. Over the girl's head, Isabella and Marco looked at each other, and she knew that something had changed forever between them. That night, when Lily slept soundly for the first time in weeks, Isabella realized that her heart had found what it needed to be happy, and that terrified her more than any board meeting. Mommy, can we invite Marco to my birthday? Lily asked at breakfast, with that naturalness only children have for impossible requests. Isabella almost choked on her coffee. She had planned an elegant party at her hillside home, with the children of her business partners and some relatives. The idea of mixing her corporate world with Marco, made her nervous. Lily, my love, it's going to be a very big party. Marco will probably be working. But it's Saturday. He doesn't work Saturdays. Lily had that determined look Isabella knew very well. Please, Mommy, it's my 7th birthday. It's very important. Isabella sighed. She couldn't deny her daughter anything on her birthday, especially since she had spent weeks planning every detail of the party to compensate for her absence in recent months. All right, but I don't know if he'll want to come. He will. I'm going to make him a special invitation. That afternoon, Lily worked for hours on a handmade invitation. She drew eagles, hummingbirds, and mountains, and wrote in her neatest handwriting, "To Marco, my special friend, please come to my party. I need you there. With love, Lily." When she handed it to Marco that night, Isabella saw how his eyes filled with an emotion he tried to hide. "It's very beautiful, Lily, but I don't know if I should go. It's a very elegant party and It doesn't matter, Lily interrupted. You're going to be my special guest, right, Mommy? Isabella nodded, though her stomach churned thinking about the reactions of her family and friends. On Saturday morning, Isabella's house transformed into a children's wonderland. There were golden and pink balloons, a candy table that looked like something out of a fairy tale, and hired entertainment that cost more than many people's monthly salaries. Isabella put on a light blue dress that accentuated her eyes, and didn't want to analyze why she had chosen that particular one, the one Leo always said was her favorite. Her sister Maria arrived early with her children. You look spectacular, Isa. Lily is going to be happy. I hope so. I invited someone. Special? Maria raised an eyebrow. Did you finally meet someone? It's not what you think. He's the custodian from my office building. Lily has grown very fond of him. The custodian? Isabella, are you sure that's appropriate? It's just a birthday party, Maria. But Isabella knew it was anything but just anything. The past few days she had been thinking about Marco more than she dared to admit, about his smiles, about the way he treated Lily, about how he made her feel when he looked at her. Guests began to arrive. Executives with their perfect families, children dressed like little adults, conversations about private schools and European vacations. Isabella smiled and played hostess, but a part of her eagerly awaited Marco's arrival. At 4 p.m, when she thought he wouldn't come, the doorbell rang. Isabella opened the door and gasped. Marco was there, dressed in a navy blue suit that fit him perfectly. He had cut his hair and looked, well, he looked like someone who could perfectly belong in her world. In his hands, he held a gift wrapped in newspaper with handmade drawings. Good afternoon, Ms. Sterling, he said with a nervous smile. I hope I'm not late. Not at all. Lily is waiting for you. Marco! Lily shouted, running towards him. She threw herself into his arms as if he were the most anticipated gift of her birthday. Happy birthday, princess! Marco picked her up and spun her around. 7 years already. You're growing up so fast. Isabella observed her guests' reactions. Some looked with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. But Rosa, her housekeeper, immediately approached Marco with a smile. Good afternoon, young man. Can I get you something to drink? Very kind, ma'am. Water is fine. Nonsense. Rosa addressed him with the natural respect given among working people. Today is a party. I'll bring you some guava juice I made especially. Isabella noticed something curious. All the staff in her house treated Marco with special deference, as if they recognized someone important in him. Luis, the gardener, came over to greet him in Spanish, and soon they were talking about Colombian plants like old friends. How do you know Marco? Maria asked, observing the scene. I told you, he's the custodian at my building. He doesn't look like a custodian. Look how he talks to everyone, how he carries himself. He has natural class. Isabella had noticed it too. Marco moved through her house with natural elegance. He conversed with executives on various topics, and when one of her partner's children hurt their knee, Marco immediately approached with first aid knowledge that impressed everyone. Where did you study medicine? Dr. Hayes, Lily's pediatrician, asked him. I've just read about it, Marco responded evasively, but Isabella noticed the flicker of pain in his eyes. The party continued, and slowly Isabella relaxed. Marco had a gift for connecting with people. He told stories that made the children laugh, conversed about business with the adults, and discreetly helped when something was needed. When it was time to open gifts, Lily insisted that Marco's be last. Isabella watched her daughter carefully unwrap the newspaper. Inside was a small, completely handmade dollhouse. It wasn't sophisticated like the expensive toys she had received, but every detail was crafted with love. It had tiny carved wooden furniture, curtains made of colorful fabric, and in the garden, small paper hummingbirds. "It's perfect," Lily cried. "It has hummingbirds like the ones from Colombia." "I made it thinking of you," Marco said. "So you always have a place where all dreams are possible." Isabella felt tears in her eyes. While other guests had spent hundreds on brand-name toys, Marco had invested time, creativity, and love into creating something unique. When the guests began to leave, Isabella found herself not wanting Marco to leave either. Lily had fallen asleep on the garden sofa, exhausted by all the excitement. "Would you like something to drink?" she asked him. "Coffee? A glass of wine?" Coffee would be nice. They sat in the garden while Lily slept nearby. The sun was setting over the city, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. "Thank you for coming," Isabella said. It meant a lot to Lily. "It meant a lot to me, too. It's been a perfect day." "Really? Don't you feel like you don't fit in?" Marco looked at her with that intensity that made her feel vulnerable. "Isabella, can I ask you something personal?" It was the first time he had called her by her first name, and it sounded different in his voice, more intimate. "Of course. Do you feel like you fit into your own life?" The question took her by surprise. She stayed silent, thinking. "I don't know what you mean. I see how you live. Everything is perfect, orderly, successful. But sometimes, when you don't think anyone is watching you, you have this look as if you're a prisoner in your own perfect life." Isabella felt her heart race. No one, not even Leo when he was alive, had been able to see her so clearly. "It's not that simple. I have responsibilities, a company to run, a daughter to support. And what about you? When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy?" Isabella fell silent. She couldn't remember. "And you," she countered, "are you happy cleaning offices when it's obvious you could do so much more?" It was Marco's turn to be silent. A shadow crossed his face. "Happiness is a luxury not all of us can afford, Isabella." "Why not? Why do we sometimes make such big mistakes that we don't deserve to be happy?" There was so much pain in his voice that Isabella felt the urge to comfort him, to ask him what had happened. But before she could, Lily woke up crying. "Mommy, I can't breathe!" Isabella rushed to her daughter and was alarmed to see Lily was pale and sweating. Her breathing was labored. "What's wrong with her? What's wrong with her?" Isabella panicked. Marco was by her side in seconds. He placed his hand on Lily's forehead. Then he checked her pulse with precise, professional movements. "She's having an allergic reaction. Has she eaten anything new today?" "I don't know. There were many things at the party." Marco carefully picked up Lily and carried her inside, heading directly to the nearest bathroom. "We need cold water and a towel. Do you have any children's antihistamine?" "How do you know?" "Isabella, please, the medicine. Now!" His voice had an authority she had never heard before. She ran to the medicine cabinet and returned with the medication. Marco measured the exact dose, and it to Lily, while placing cold compresses to reduce the swelling. "Everything will be fine, Princess. Just breathe slowly with me. Inhale. Exhale." In 15 minutes, Lily was breathing normally again, though still pale. "We should take her to the hospital to be sure," Marco said. On the way to the hospital, Isabella couldn't stop thinking about how Marco had handled the situation. Not like a custodian who had read about it, but like someone with real medical experience. When the emergency doctor confirmed that Lily was fine and had only had a mild allergic reaction, Isabella felt relieved, but also more confused than ever. "How did you know exactly what to do?" she asked Marco as they waited for Lily to be discharged. Marco avoided her gaze. "Just lucky, I guess." Isabella knew he was lying, and for the first time she realized she knew absolutely nothing about the man who had become such an important part of her daughter's life, and possibly her own. What shocking secret do you think Matteo is hiding about his medical past? And how will Isabella react when she discovers the full truth? Share your theories in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more dramatic revelations. Isabella didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the precision with which Marco had attended to Lily, the confident movements of someone who had done that many times before. At 6 in the morning, she was already dressed and drinking coffee when Sarah arrived. "Good morning, ma'am. How is Lily?" "Better, thank you." "Sarah, I need you to do something for me. I want you to investigate Marco Ramirez more deeply, his medical history, his studies in Colombia, everything you can find." "Did something happen, ma'am?" "Let's just say I'm starting to think there's a lot more to him than meets the eye." 3 days later, Sarah entered her office with a thick folder and a worried expression. "Ma'am, I found something interesting about Marco Ramirez." Isabella looked up from her computer. "What kind of interesting?" "The kind that explains a lot. Marco isn't just a custodian, Isabella. He's a doctor. Or he was a doctor." Isabella felt her heart race. "What do you mean?" Sarah opened the folder and spread out several documents. Dr. Marco Alejandro Ramirez Cadavid, graduated with honors from the National University of Colombia, specializing in pediatric cardiology. Worked 5 years at Mercy Hospital in Bogota. Had a brilliant reputation. Was considered one of the best pediatric cardiologists in the country. Isabella took the documents with trembling hands. There was Marco's photo, younger, dressed in a white coat, smiling proudly alongside other doctors. And what happened? Why is he here working as a custodian? Sarah took a deep breath. That's where the story gets sad. 8 months ago, there was a scandal at the hospital where he worked. A 7-year-old child died during a routine surgery. The media blamed Marco. They said he had made a fatal error. Isabella felt nauseous. But was it really his fault? According to my contacts in Colombia, no. It seems the hospital was involved in corruption, using defective equipment and expired medications to steal money from the healthcare system. Marco discovered the corruption and was going to expose it when the child's death happened. They made him a scapegoat. My God, he lost his medical license, his reputation, everything. The media destroyed him. Apparently, after the child's funeral, he simply disappeared. No one knew where he was until now. Isabella remained silent, processing the information. Everything fit. The medical knowledge, the sadness in his eyes, the way he distanced himself when they talked about his past. Is there anything else? Yes. The child who died was named Sebastian Morales. He was the same age as Lily. Isabella closed her eyes. Now she understood why Marco treated Lily with such desperate tenderness, as if he were trying to save something he had lost. That night, she waited for everyone to leave the building before going to look for Marco. She found him on his floor, slowly cleaning the windows while looking out at the city. "We need to talk," Isabella said. Marco tensed without turning. "About what?" "About Dr. Marco Alejandro Ramirez Cadavid." The rag fell from his hands. He turned slowly, and Isabella saw a deep resignation on his face. "How much do you know?" "Enough. Why didn't you tell me the truth?" Marco sat heavily in a chair. "What truth, Isabella? That I was a doctor, that I killed a child, that I fled my country like a coward. You didn't kill anyone. It was the hospital's corruption. Do you believe that?" Marco looked at her with eyes full of pain. "I was the surgeon. My hands were the ones that couldn't save him. It doesn't matter who else is to blame. At the end of the day, Sebastian Morales died on my operating table." Isabella approached and sat across from him. Is that why you came to the US? To hide? I came to disappear, to stop being the doctor who killed an innocent child. But you didn't disappear. You found Lily. Marco smiled sadly. Lily found me. And when I saw her, when I saw those eyes full of life, I couldn't help it. It was as if Sebastian had sent me a second chance. A second chance for what? To protect a child. To not fail again. Isabella felt tears in her eyes. Marco, you didn't fail Sebastian, and you're not failing Lily. You're the best thing that has happened to her since her father died. Do you really believe that? I know it. They remained silent for a moment. Finally, Marco spoke. At first, I thought if I could take care of Lily, if I could make sure she was okay, maybe I could forgive myself. But now what? Now I realized it wasn't just for Sebastian. It's for her. It's for you. You became my family without me even realizing it. Isabella felt her heart race. Marco, I know it's impossible. A millionaire CEO and a custodian with no future, but I couldn't help falling in love with you two. The words hung in the air. Isabella felt as if the world had shifted on its axis. Falling in love? Forgive me. I shouldn't have said it. I know I'm just the custodian who takes care of your daughter while you work. Isabella stood up abruptly. Do you think that's what you are to me? It's not. Marco, Isabella stopped. The words she wanted to say terrified her as much as what she felt. I have to think about it. This is too complicated. She saw the pain in Marco's eyes, but he nodded. I understand. The next few days were torment for Isabella. Her family and friends, who had heard rumors about something between her and the custodian, began to pressure her. Isabella, please tell me you're not considering anything serious with that man, her mother told her during lunch. Think about your social position, your company, Lily. What does Lily have to do with this? A child needs stability, not a man who appeared out of nowhere. What do you really know about him? How can you trust someone like that? I trust him more than many people in our social circle. That's exactly what worries me. You're losing your judgment. Maria was more direct. Isa, be realistic. What future can a custodian offer you? You already have everything. Money, position, respect. Is it worth risking that for what? For a romance? But it was Lily who confused her the most. The girl had noticed that something had changed. Mommy, why is Marco sad? Did I do something wrong? No, my love, you didn't do anything wrong. Then why doesn't he come to see us like before? Isabella didn't know what to answer. Since their conversation, Marco had maintained professional distance. He was cordial, but cold. Isabella could see how that affected Lily. One night, her daughter couldn't take it anymore. I want Marco to be my daddy, she screamed during a tantrum. He loves me more than all of you. Lily, don't say that. It's true. You only talk about money and what people will think. Marco talks to me about important things, like stars and dreams, and why it's important to be a good person. Isabella froze. Her 7-year-old daughter had articulated exactly what she had been feeling. The next day, she arrived at the office determined to talk to Marco, but Sarah intercepted her with devastating news. Ma'am, Marco submitted his resignation this morning. His last day is tomorrow. What? Why? Sarah handed her a letter. Dear Ms. Sterling, I have decided to return to Colombia to try to rebuild my life and career. I understand that my presence here has caused complications you don't need. I want you to know that meeting Lily has been the greatest gift of my life. She reminded me that kindness still exists in the world, and that it's worth fighting for the things we love. Take great care of that extraordinary child, and take care of yourself too. With all my respect and affection, Marco. Isabella felt her heart break. She rushed to the elevators, but the receptionist stopped her. Miss Sterling! Mr. Ramirez already left. He said he couldn't say goodbye because it would be too difficult. That night, Isabella had to face a heartbroken Lily. Did he leave forever? The girl asked with tears in her eyes. I don't know, my love. Why did he leave? Doesn't he love us anymore? Isabella hugged her daughter, feeling her own broken heart. I think he left precisely because he loves us very much. And at that moment, Isabella realized she had made the biggest mistake of her life. She had let fear and the opinions of others drive away the man who had brought light back into her life and her daughters. But maybe it was too late. Can Isabella find Marco before it's truly too late? Will Lily ever get her daddy Marco back? Comment your hopes below. And if you're cheering for this family, give us a like and hit subscribe for the emotional conclusion. Isabella spent the next few days in a spiral of sadness and guilt. Lily refused to eat. She cried at night, asking for Daddy Marco, and her school performance plummeted. Isabella realized it wasn't just her own heart that was broken. She had broken her daughter's too. I need to find him, she told Sarah one morning. I need all the information you can get on flights to Colombia. Where could he be? Ma'am, I already tried to track him. There's no record of him taking any flight to Bogota. Isabella frowned. What do you mean? I checked all airlines. Marco Ramirez hasn't left the country. Isabella's heart raced. Then where is he? Sarah smiled slightly. That's where it gets interesting. I made some calls, and it turns out someone with his name enrolled in an accelerated medical revalidation program at General Hospital. Medical revalidation? For foreign doctors who want to practice in the U.S., it's an intensive 6-month program, very expensive, very demanding. Isabella felt a mix of hope and admiration. Where is he living? In a tiny apartment near the hospital. He works nights at another building to pay for the program and his expenses. How do you know all this? Sarah smiled more broadly. Because Rosa, your housekeeper, has a cousin who works at the hospital. Small world, right? Isabella stood up immediately. Cancel all my appointments today. Are you going to look for him? I'm going to bring home the man my daughter and I love. She arrived at General Hospital at 2 in the afternoon, asking about the medical revalidation program. The information nurse directed her to the pediatrics area, where the program students did their practical training. Isabella went up to the 5th floor, her heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. She followed the hallways until she reached the pediatric recovery room. Through the glass window she saw him. Marco was sitting beside the bed of a 5-year-old boy, reading him a story. The boy had bandages on his chest, evidently after heart surgery, but he was smiling as he listened to the story. Isabella watched the scene, feeling her eyes well up. Marco hadn't stopped being a doctor in his heart. He was where he always should have been, healing children, restoring hope to families. And then, the little hummingbird flew so high it touched the clouds, Marco said. And when it returned home, its family was waiting with open arms. My family will be waiting for me when I leave the hospital? The boy asked. Of course, Marco replied. Families who love each other always find each other, no matter how far apart they are. Isabella couldn't wait any longer. She entered the room. Does that include families you find by chance? Marco turned, surprised. His eyes filled with a mix of joy and pain. Isabella, what are you doing here? I came to find you. To find you and to find us. The boy looked at them curiously. Is she your girlfriend, Dr. Marco? Marco blushed. It's complicated, Andrew. No, Isabella said, approaching. It's not complicated at all. I'm the woman who loves him and was very foolish to let him go. Marco stood up slowly. Isabella, you can't say those things here. Why not? Because you're in a hospital. Because you're doing what you were born to do. Because you're saving lives again. Because I haven't finished the program. Because I still don't have my US license. Because I'm still the man who... You're the man who saved my daughter from an allergic reaction. You're the man who taught her that her dad lives in her heart. You're the man who showed me that love can arrive when you least expect it. Andrew clapped from his bed. I like this story. Are you going to get married like in the stories? Isabella and Marco looked at each other, and for the first time in days, both smiled. First, Isabella said, I have to apologize. I let fear and the opinions of others be stronger than what I feel for you. Isabella, no, let me finish. I investigated your entire medical history. I know about Sebastian. I know about the corruption in the hospital. I know it wasn't your fault. But most of all, I know you are the most noble and brave man I have ever met. Marco had tears in his eyes. And what about your family? Your social position? What will people say? That the CEO of Sterling Corp fell in love with the best pediatric cardiologist in the US. That my daughter will have the daddy she always dreamed of. That sometimes love comes in unexpected ways. But when it's real, it's worth fighting for. And Lily? How is she? Heartbroken. She doesn't eat. She doesn't smile. She asks for you every day. She misses you as much as I do. Marco approached and took Isabella's hands. Are you sure? Because if I do this, if I accept what you're offering me, I won't be able to let you go ever again. I don't want you to let me go. I want you to come home. I want us to be a real family. They kissed for the first time there, in that hospital room, with a child clapping in the background and the sound of medical machines sustaining dreams and hopes. When they separated, Marco whispered, Do you know what this means? What? That Lily will have two dads who love her, one in heaven and one here on earth, and that I will have the partner I thought I'd never find. 6 months later, Marco graduated from the revalidation program with the best grades in his class. Children's National Hospital immediately offered him a position as head of pediatric cardiology. Isabella reorganized her company to have more flexible hours and be more present in Lily's life. She discovered that she could be a successful CEO and a dedicated mother at the same time. The wedding was in her garden, an intimate ceremony with close family and friends. Lily was the maid of honor, dressed in a yellow gown that matched the colors of Columbia. Do you promise to love my mommy forever? Lily asked Marco during the ceremony. I promise to love her and you forever, Marco replied. And do you promise never to leave again? I promise we will always be together, like a real family. Lily smiled and officially declared, Then now you're my daddy of the heart. There wasn't a dry eye at the ceremony. The story ended as it had begun, in a hallway. But this time, it was the hallway of their new home, where Isabella found Marco and Lily sitting on the floor, making paper airplanes and planning a trip to Colombia so Lily could learn about her new family's roots. What are you thinking about? Marco said, wrapping his arms around them. That sometimes the best things arrive when you least expect them, and that families can be made in many ways, Lily added. Right, Daddy? Marco looked at her with eyes full of love. Absolutely right, Princess. Isabella watched them, finally complete. They had found something more valuable than all the money in the world. They had found true love, the kind that heals wounds, builds bridges, and turns 3 lonely hearts into an unbreakable family. 5 years later, Children's National Hospital, main conference hall. Dr. Marco Ramirez adjusted his blue tie, reviewing his notes one last time. In a few minutes, he would present the results of his research on congenital heart defects in Latin American children, before the International Congress of Pediatric Cardiology. It was the most important moment of his rebuilt medical career. Nervous, Isabella appeared by his side, elegant in a gray suit that perfectly complemented her new position as Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at Sterling Corp. "A little," Marco admitted, taking her hand. "It's strange to be here after everything that happened." "You are exactly where you always should have been." Isabella kissed his cheek, saving lives and changing the world. The door opened, and Lily rushed in, now a confident 12-year-old who knew she was deeply loved. "Dad!" she cried, throwing herself into his arms. "I just saw your picture in the newspaper. You're on the front page." Marco picked her up, surprised by how much she had grown. "Really?" Isabella pulled out her phone and showed him the digital front page of the newspaper. Dr. Ramirez, from custodian to revolutionary. The Colombian doctor who is transforming pediatric cardiology in the U.S. "Look what it says here," Lily read dramatically. Dr. Marco Ramirez, who arrived in the U.S. 5 years ago under difficult circumstances, has developed a protocol that has reduced infant mortality from heart disease by 40%. His work is not only saving lives, but creating a new standard of medical care. Marco felt tears in his eyes. 5 years ago, he thought his career was over forever. Now he was about to present a paper that could change the lives of thousands of children. "There's something else," Isabella said with a mysterious smile. "A letter arrived for you this morning." She handed him an envelope with a Colombian postmark. Marco opened it with trembling hands and read aloud. "Dr. Ramirez, I am Sebastian Morales' mother. I know years have passed since we lost our son, and I know you have suffered as much as we have for what happened. I want you to know that my husband and I never blamed you. We knew the hospital was corrupt, that the equipment wasn't working properly. You did everything you could to save our Sebastian. We have followed your work in the U.S. Seeing how you have turned your pain into hope for other children has given us much peace. Sebastian would be proud to know that his death was not in vain, that it led you to save so many other children. We want you to know that we forgive you completely, though there was nothing to forgive. And we hope you forgive yourself, too. With love and respect, the Morales family." Marco couldn't finish reading. Isabella and Lily hugged him as he cried tears of liberation he had needed to shed for 5 years. "It's okay, Daddy," Lily whispered. "You can let the sadness go now." An hour later, Marco stepped onto the podium before 500 doctors from around the world. He began his presentation, but after a few minutes, he paused. "Before I continue with the medical data, I want to tell you a personal story," he said. 5 years ago, I was a broken doctor. I had lost a patient. I had lost my career. I had lost faith in myself. I came to the U.S. thinking my life was over. The auditorium was completely silent. But in the most unexpected place, working as a custodian in an office building, I found a 6-year-old girl who taught me that second chances exist. I found a woman who showed me that love can heal everything. And I found a new family that helped me remember why I became a doctor. Marco looked into the audience and found Isabella and Lily in the front row. "This research isn't just mine. It's for every family who entrusted me with their child's life. It's for my wife, who reorganized her company to create a support program for low-income families with cardiac children. It's for my daughter, who reminds me every day that miracles are possible." The ovation was immediate and prolonged. When the presentation finished, dozens of doctors approached to congratulate him and ask about international collaborations. "How does it feel to be famous again?" Isabella asked him as they left the hospital. "Does it feel good to be famous for the right reasons?" Marco smiled. But what truly makes me happy is going home to you two." "Speaking of home," Lily jumped excitedly. "Can we tell Dad the surprise now?" Isabella and Lily exchanged knowing glances. "What surprise?" Isabella took his hand and placed it on her belly. "The surprise that our family is growing." Marco froze for a second, processing the words. Are you pregnant? 3 months?" Isabella smiled. "You're going to be a father again." Marco hugged them both right there on the street, not caring who saw them. "How did you know before I did?" he asked Lily. "Because Mommy had the same face she had when she was pregnant with my cousin last year. Plus, she's been eating pickles with ice cream." Marco laughed, feeling more complete than he ever thought possible. 6 months later, in the same hospital where Marco had rebuilt his career, Leo Alexander Ramirez Sterling was born. Lily insisted the baby be named after her first daddy. "So he knows he has 2 dads who love him," she explained with the wisdom of her 12 years. "One who watches over him from heaven, and one who will watch over him here on earth." The first time Marco held his son, he felt complete peace. He was no longer the doctor who had lost a patient. He was the man who had found his way back home, who had learned that love can transform even the deepest tragedy into the most beautiful hope. 2 years later, Bogotá, Colombia. The Ramirez Sterling family walked through the streets of La Candelaria, Bogotá's historic neighborhood. It was their first trip to Colombia as a family, and Marco had wanted to show his wife and children where he came from. "Dad, look!" Lily, now 14, pointed towards a colonial church. "It's just like the one you drew for me." Leo Jr., 2 years old, slept in Isabella's arms as she admired the architecture and vibrant colors of the houses. "It's beautiful, Marco. I understand why you missed this place so much." Marco guided them to a small square where there was an arepa stand. "This is where my grandmother first taught me how to make arepas," he told them. "She used to say that cooking was an act of love, like when you taught Lily and me." Isabella smiled. "Exactly." They bought arepas for everyone and sat on a park bench. Leo Jr. woke up and began babbling in Spanish and English, making passers-by laugh. "You know what?" Lily said suddenly. "I think this is the most beautiful story in the world." "Which story?" "Ours. How Dad came to clean a building and ended up cleaning our hearts." Isabella took Marco's hand. "Do you regret anything?" Marco looked at his family, his brilliant and loving wife, his teenage daughter, who had grown into a wise and compassionate young woman, his small son, who carried in his smile the promise of a future full of possibilities. "Nothing," he replied. "Not even the difficult parts, because without them, I would never have found you." At that moment, a golden hummingbird landed on the back of their bench. Lily clapped softly. "It's like the ones in your stories, Dad." "Yes," Marco smiled, remembering all the nights he had spent telling Lily about the hummingbirds of Colombia. "In my country, we say that when you see a hummingbird, it means something magical is about to happen." "What do you think is going to happen?" Isabella asked. Marco looked at them all, feeling a gratitude so profound it almost overwhelmed him. "I think it already happened. I think the magic was finding each other. I think the magic is this: a family that was formed in the hallways of an office building, that grew in hospital rooms, and that is now here, in my native country, being exactly what I always dreamed of, but never thought I deserved." The hummingbird flew towards the blue sky of Bogotá, and Marco knew that somewhere, Sebastian Morales was smiling, knowing that his passing had led this doctor to find not only his redemption, but his home. What an incredible journey of healing and unexpected love. This story proves that family isn't just about blood, but about the bonds we choose to build. If you were touched by Isabella and Marco's journey, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear about hope and second chances. What was your favorite moment in their story? Let us know in the comments below. And for more uplifting and inspiring narratives, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching us from? Tell us in the comments.